welcome back to Timeless Steel Garage. I'm Jimmy. And hopefully you can hear me okay because I've got the fans and all the other garbage in here turned off. But, you know, life has a way of wearing on you. And for me, cars have always been my stress relief from the world. From a young age when it was car magazines and Hot Rod magazine and working on my first car all the way up until now, getting away from the Army. This has always been my hobby. And you know, after a while, when you're wrenching all the time and you're working on other people's stuff and the business and life and work, and it wears at you. And lately I've just been not motivated when it comes to the wrench. A break from everything else. The EcoBoost has got me frustrated because I can't get parts for it. Waiting on parts, the thing doesn't run yet. I'm on my second motor. It's just been frustrating. So I'm going to do something that's just for me and bring you guys along for the ride. However, let me tell you about this girl first. This is a 65 Buick Riviera, and she's rotten. And you're asking yourself, well, why did I buy a rotten car? Well, I got several reasons for buying a rotten car. First, a quick story. My wife and my father both passed away, and the thing that my wife has always told me, that one of the favorite things from her childhood with her dad, was he had a 65 Buick Riviera with a 401 nailhead in it. And she's told me that story a million times. She loved riding in it. She loved the car. It's like one of her greatest memories of her childhood. So for years, I've been keeping my eyes out looking for one, and you just don't find a 65 Riviera. I mean, unless you're watching Roadhouse, which is like the greatest movie of all time, then you see a Riviera every time. But there just isn't that many Buicks out there. The aftermarket world never really caught on to them, and they're hard to find. And when you do find them, they're either junk or they're $100,000 cars. So this one here I found on Facebook Marketplace, and the reason I ended up buying it when I went to look at it, well, when I went to look at it, it was rotten. The car was rotten. And I'm like, I'm buying it anyway. Why? One, I got it really cheap. Two, this car has everything. Every last piece of trim, all the interior bits, which if you're a Buick person, you know how hard that stuff is to get. And it's the same family that's owned this car from the beginning. It's been registered one time. One time, 65 Riviera. The guy's name that ordered it, the family I got it from, the name is still on the center console. So I bought it knowing it was a rust bucket, but it had a cool story. The family's from New Jersey. The car was a Jersey car. They're Italian, so maybe this is a real mafia car. I don't know. But it was just cool, right? So then I set out on the hunt to get parts for it because I knew I was going to need a body and all that kind of stuff. And I met this guy named AJ, and we became buddies, and I've been getting parts from him and searching all over the community for them. It's funny how cars are like that, right? Like DeLoreans, I have a whole group of DeLorean friends now. Buicks, I've got Buick friends now. Minis, I got Mini friends. But essentially, I've accumulated 5 different Rivieras to build one car. Now that pile of junk over there is actually a really good shell. This car is the one that I bought. Obviously, it's complete with a title. I've got a different car's fenders. I've got a different car's cowl. I've got a different car's, there it is, the cowl. I've got hatches. I've got the doors that came off the car. And the other thing I forgot to mention about this thing that made it so special was the options are ridiculous. Electric doors, dual note horn, air conditioning. Like, this thing is loaded from 65. And it's got the hideaway headlights and that sinister grille. I mean, if you were the devil and you were buying a car new in 1965, I'm fairly certain that you and Nick Cage would be buying this car. I mean, look at that license plate. There ain't nothing left of it. I don't know what it says on it. I'm fairly certain it's a New Jersey plate, but I can't tell. Anyhow, so like all cars out there, the family claimed, oh, we had it running 7 to 9 years ago and it's been sitting since, and we were going to restore it, but we just haven't found the time, and blah blah blah. So here's what I've done so far. Obviously the hood and the doors I've already swapped because they were just the passenger door, when I opened it, it like peeled the outer skin right off. The hood was like completely see-through. The doors that I have in it now are manual crank doors, not electric doors. But I've already kind of started it. But I got to thinking, I've never tried to start this thing. I think I turned it over by hand one time. And I'm like, it's going to take me a while to build this car. But wouldn't it be cool for the wife to hear it run? So now she doesn't even know I'm working on this thing. I told her when I got this, I'm like, it's going to sit here for 10 years before I even touch it. And I think it'll run. And here's the funny thing. So the family said that they had put WD-40 all through the cylinders and they drained all the fluids. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, what, did you buy 1,500 cans of WD-40? It doesn't even make any sense. But I'm not even kidding. The only thing I did do was I stole the battery out of the Camaro, and I'm going to steal all kinds of stuff from the Camaro because I've proven it runs. It's parked in the garage. I've got probably 10 years before my daughter even wants to start working on it with me. So I'm going to rob everything I need off that car to try to get this one running. But look at this thing. Look at how complete it is. Now, I mean, that's why, yeah, it's rotten. But your chances of finding a 65 Riviera with all of its parts, I mean, it's unheard of. Like, check this out. Dual note horn. When was the last time you saw one of those? Factory AC. Cruise control. I mean, and these engines are just cool. So this says Wildcat 445. And it's actually, that stood for 445 foot-pounds of torque. And this is really a 401 nailhead. But what I was getting at, only thing I did do was pull the dipstick, and I'm not even kidding, it smells like WD-40 just like that guy said. So now I'm starting to think, man, this thing might be in decent shape. It might run. It actually has WD-40 in it, and I'm here to tell you, I don't even know, like, can you buy WD-40 in a gallon jug or something? I have no idea. Maybe it's Kroll that he's got in here. But he's definitely got some kind of penetrant or that kind of oil in the car, not regular oil. And then you start investigating, brand new air filter, right? Look at all this garbage. And then I keep looking even further. Well, that fuel filter had been replaced at some point. These belts are old, but they've been replaced. Look at this water pump is sealed with RTV horribly. That cap back there, that looks relatively new. These wires are definitely not, from the 60s. So, oh my gosh. There's a mouse house inside the carburetor. I'm definitely going to have to take that carburetor off and at least clean it out. But I mean, the wires, everything looks to be here. Well, there's some mouse damage there. It looks like a mouse chewed right through that spark plug wire. Let me get some light on so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, look at this. That is a spark plug wire with chew marks on it. Well, we'll definitely be putting I've got some new wires laying around from random vehicles. I'll just hodgepodge something together. Well, like this vacuum thing here looks relatively new. It's, I don't know, it'll run. Power steering pump. It's got fluid in it. Let's see here. A radiator. Hell, that's bone dry. But look at that engine. Look at how cool that engine is. Now, these things are known as nail heads, and up until this car, I had never seen one. But if you look at the valve covers, they're straight up and down, and they're called nail heads because the valves are literally tiny, and they look like nails. But how cool is it that the heads are vertical? And these engines are real popular with hot rodders that are running like an old school rat rod where they want the engine exposed, because look, it's just a different looking engine. Now the problem is everything Buick's expensive, everything Buick's hard to find. But man, I'm gonna get this thing running. I'm gonna at least have it make some kind of noise. And it's the cool thing about these old engines is even if they're 3 cylinders down, they'll usually start. Well, I'll give you a tour of the rest of the car. One-piece Buick Rally wheels, which luckily this chassis I got from AJ. He's got a full set of them. They're in better shape. But my wife likes things original, so I'm not doing like a show car restoration on this car, but I am going to try to keep as many old school original stuff things as possible. You know what I'm saying? So let's take you in the car. And this interior is cool on this thing. Let me get in here because I got it shoved in the corner of the shop. Ugh. It smells awful in here. It smells exactly like a moldy old car would. I think that's my hat. Yeah, that's my hat on the roof. Well, let me just let me give you a quick tour in here. How many of you have been in a 65? But look at this giant steering wheel. Speedo goes to 140. What do we got here? Old school analog clock. That's pretty sweet. Oil, fuel, temp, amps. The old Sonomatic stereo, which, by the way, guess what that is in the middle of the rear seat? An option. That's a speaker behind that grill. It's got all kinds of stuff. Courtesy lights, antenna, defrost, heat, air conditioner. But check this out. Wouldn't it be cool if cars still came this way? Let me turn this light down a little bit. It says, built expressly for Herbert C. Rich. How cool is that? This is real wood. It's all delaminating, of course, but I mean, it is just, this thing just exuberates cool. I don't even know if that's a word. Exuberate. What do we got here? I have literally, guys, never bothered to really explore in here. Maybe somebody knows what this U is. Some kind of college or something. Check it out. I think, well, I don't know what that is, let's be honest. Look at that. A flip up rear ashtray. And that thing's got some girth to it, man. You know, one of the cool things about this car is it has door handles for the front and for the rear. So if you're in the back of the car, you could open the door from the back seat. Electric windows in the back, courtesy lights in the back, and hang your best suit on the corner. The visors are here. The headliner's mostly here. It's falling down, but it's here. But look at these seats. Look at that. There's no tears in any of these seats. Heck, I didn't even bother to look at the one that I'm sitting in. I know that's a glove box there, and I don't know if it opens. It feels very airplane-like in here, you know, like there's Cessna styling cues. But again, these doors are different. The real doors have electric windows, which I'll convert these to the electric windows like the ones that it came with. They're sitting right there, and they got full glass in them. But you can see, you know, the door pan, like all this stuff that's like super hard to find. It's all here. So yeah, I bought a rotten car, but I'm gonna build her a cool car out of the collection of 5 cars that I have sitting here. Okay, the driver's seat's got a tear in it, but it's not bad. And you know, like that's not a bad enough tear that the foam in it's bad. Look at that. It like tilts towards the center console when you open it. You got room for days in here. You could carry 6 people in here with some cold treats comfortably. So anyways, I'm kind of excited about it. I definitely didn't close right. I scored on these fenders. These fenders here are out of California. They're off a 65. There's literally no rust on them. They look like they're brand new NOS fenders. Like, I don't I paid a pretty penny for them, but I mean, That's the whole front of the car. And this thing is like, this car is 80 feet long. I mean, I've got a 30 by 50 shop, and I have this thing pushed up against the wall. And let me just show you here. I would say I'm standing in the center of my shop right now, and the car sticks out past the center line. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's huge. And I don't know if the springs came from the factory this low. It's like a factory lowrider. I'm assuming that the heavy springs have just collapsed from the weight of this car. I don't even know how many miles are on it. I've never bothered to look. Let's look together here. It says 46,863. Let me see here. My pedal doesn't look that worn. I highly doubt that's 46,000 miles, though. I'm sure it's at least 146. But man, this thing is cool. And like I said, it's got all the glass, all of the trim work. I'll be honest with you, when I build her car, I'm probably going to weld all the trim holes in and just ditch the trim, because that's just my style. She wants original and classic. I gotta, if I'm going to be interested in building it, I've at least got to do a little bit my way. So this right here I got from AJ, and it looks rough, but it's really just surface rust. He had it blasted and then he never did anything with it, so it just flash rusted. But the quarter panels are really the weakness on this car, and these ones are in great shape. They just need patches on the low side, and it overall is a solid structure. It's going to need floor pans, which, believe it or not, the only metal you can really get for these cars is the floor pans and the trunk pan. Everything else, you got to find it. And what's funny, this car was a very low option car, but this is going to become her car. Everything from that car that's salvageable, plus all the new sheet metal, is basically going to get bolted to this chassis, and I'm going to transfer everything, VIN and all that stuff, over to it and just basically do a body swap. But I don't know. That's like literally 18 minutes of me just blabbing. But I don't know, something cool, something new on the channel. I don't know how many of you have ever even seen a 65 Riviera. It's crazy. So I looked up prices on these yesterday, and they go for stupid money. Cheapest one I could find running and driving was in the 30s. Most of them restored over 100 grand. So stay tuned, and I'm gonna try to get this thing to make some noise. Well, first things first, I got the Camaro battery in here, and I'm just gonna get in the car and turn the key and see if anything comes to life. If I can get the door open. Holy cow, the windshield wipers they're on. Oh my god. Woo! Windshield wipers just came to life. Well, I opened the door and the windshield wipers turned on. And the key does nothing, the radio doesn't turn on. I'm guessing those battery cables are just loose. But oh, I did put a sticker on it in honor of Roadkill. But look at that, those windshield wipers did that on their own. Signs of life. Oh, listen to that. No, that's not what you want to see. Radio to make some noise or something. Damn the door. Ooh. Wonder how we turn the windshield wipers off. Probably scraping the crap out of the glass, huh? Oh, there we go. We got that figured out. Speaker's making noise. Not picking up any stations. says the antenna. The antenna ain't moving. What about the key? Oh, did you hear that? Tried to move the starter. It didn't move it very much. That might not be good news for the old engine. I know I turned that thing over by hand. At least I think I did. You know what would be cool? Oh, you know what? Battery cables aren't tight. Rookie mistake. That starter tried moving. That's cool. I just have this sitting here. Speakers are back on. Blower doesn't work. Whoa, did you hear that? She turns over. She's got a little gallop to her. Probably because that one spark plug wire that I showed you is eaten through by a mouse, but she turns over, so she's gonna run. We'll see about that. But that's pretty exciting. That's the first noise I've ever heard this thing make. Let's try the horn. No. No hornage. What about the lights? I wonder if we can turn the lights on. Oh, no way. This is cool. Hold on, I don't know what it is about turning the headlights on dead cars. Just, it's like Christine. It's like the first sign of life, right? Look at that. I hear you, girl. We gonna get you running. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the battery because it smells like burning inside the car. But just look at the corrosion on this. Oh yeah, that's hot because it's corroded. That one's also hot. You want to talk about rotten? There's a glimpse. That's a piece of plastic fiberglass thing. And look at that. You start looking at the back of the car. Rust holes, rust holes. She's just rusty. Yeah, definitely a mouse house in that car. Several mouse houses. You know what's interesting is this is a Carter climatic control. So this is a Carter car. I've never worked with one of these before. Pretty similar to a Rochester. I think you can actually still buy parts for these. But it's cool, man. Like you can stick your hand under the intake. It's got a valley cover. It's just a really cool engine. I know these engines are not cheap to build. I think the going rate for a rebuild on one of these is about 10 grand. I didn't think about checking the transmission to see if there's any fluid in it. Oh, it is. It's got trans fluid in it. Doesn't even smell that burnt. I don't know. Maybe it only has 48,000 miles on it. I doubt it. It definitely doesn't have oil in it. And it definitely doesn't have coolant in it. But all the signs are here that somebody's had this running or did some work to get it running. Points-based ignition with a resistor and a coil. So the likelihood of either of those not being bad is probably low. What about brake fluid? I can't even get the brake cover off. Oh my God. Well, the brake reservoir is seized closed. I can't talk. Can't get that back on either. But it's got one of them old school brake masters where if it fails, you lose all 4 brakes. Single bore master cylinder. I'm just gonna pull a spark plug, see what it looks like. See if it's making spark. That sounds like a good idea. Oh, that's cool. It's got the firing order right on the driver's side valve cover. Oh my God. Well, these bad boys have been in there a long time. Interesting shape to the spark plug. These are auto lights, which are trash. Autolite resistor 86. Doesn't smell like oil, it smells like fuel. And there's no timing burns or anything like that. It's not a bad sign, not a good sign, but it'll run if that's the worst of it. Let's take out another one. Well, I dropped that one down in there somewhere. Let me get a magnet. My wife keeps getting mad at me for ruining all my clothes, but I don't intend on working on cars. Sometimes I just walk out to the shop and it happens, and I'm wearing good clothes. Well, I don't know if we'll ever find that one. I don't want to go under there again. There's a lot of spiders down there. Oof. Yeah, it's raw fuel. I'm willing to bet that they tried to get this thing running and just doused it full of fuel. Resistor 80. I'm going to leave it there. Well, I didn't get it on camera, but she's got zero spark. Not really a surprise. Well, welcome back to Time with Steel. Another day, another dollar. I took some time to do some thinking on this girl here. And everything's so corroded, the carb's so gummed up. I just went ahead and ordered all the cheapest ignition parts and carb rebuild kit I could get off Rock Auto. So today I'm going to take all the ignition components off, inspect all the plugs, spray some lubricant in the cylinders, drain the oil that's not automotive oil. I don't know what it is, WD-40, Creel. It's full of something that is not oil. And then we'll put some dead baby dinosaur bones back in it and start rebuilding the stuff that I have parts for. And I'll keep bringing you along for my daily maintenance time on this girl when I find time. So here we go. I guess I'll start ripping stuff off this thing. Shibbity-doo-bop. I went and ate the spicy Mexican food for lunch today, so I'm definitely going to be paying for that. Whew. Well, some of the spark plug wire came off. Spark plug wires are rock hard. Rock hard. They're not rock auto, they're rock hard. Somebody is nice enough to be mowing their yard out there. I live in the country, but still seem to hear everything else my neighbors are doing. Well, these were definitely replaced, and this cap is corroded and it wasn't getting a very strong spark, but the cap is fine. These spark plug wires are dry rotted and really thin, crappy quality, but some of them probably work. Go ahead and save this cap. Well, the advanced weights work. disconnect that so we don't start a fire. That cap and points are in pretty good shape, so I don't expect our problem with spark lights there. Take all these spark plugs out. Oh yeah, put that anywhere. Can't ever find the socket I need. I guess that ain't the right socket either. Alright then. Yeah, I can't get the right tool to save my life today. Plug boot seized on the plug. Well, this is fun already. Get a pair of pliers and see if I can break that thing loose. Take the carburetor off. Literally have to lay across the top of this thing, it's so long. If there was fuel in there, it was a long time ago. I've never seen a piece of rubber literally so dry rotted that it turns into hard plastic. Look at that. You see that mouse house in there? Carter 4-barrel. Pretty much the same design as the modern Edelbrocks. Well, what they were based off anyhow. Fried mouse in there. That is a filthy carb. Not happy. Choke's been disconnected for a long time. Wonder if that was on purpose. Probably. Well, we'll see. Yeah, we might be able to work some magic once we take her apart. We'll see. It's just cool, man. This is likely the same carb it came with, 1965 Carter. And definitely stain a nice piece of veneer with that, for sure. Look at that. Just dirty girl. Dirty! Dirty! Well, I'm thinking I can take most of this car apart with a 1/2-inch socket. Because it ran when parked. There goes a bolt. Oh no! Oh, so many spiders and nasty things. Still plenty of us die-hard Americans left. There she be! Just need a little bit of persuasion. Take this off the right way. There we go. There's one. Yeah, it's got to weigh 15, 25, 35 pounds. It's heavy enough. Wee. Check it out. There is a hole in the exhaust manifold. Just looks like rot. Just rotted right through. There's a little pinhole right there. This thing's gonna sound like an old tractor when it fires up. Just junk all in the piston. I mean the spark plug bores there. Just nasty, greasy thing was leaking oil, leaking gas. Mouse apartments and condominiums everywhere. It is cool though. Lots of little engine number points to the casting number right on the block. It's got the firing order on each valve cover, which I think is kind of cool. Different than a Chevy. Firing order 1278453. Not your standard small block. And I guess it's not a small block to begin with, but I don't know much about these engines. First one I've ever worked on, so if you know things about them, leave them in the comments below. Educate me. But it is a cool engine. It is a cool engine. Well, I got to looking at this carburetor, and man, she's in rough shape. It looks like the secondaries have been seized. You can see the black versus the silver. These little guys right here, they've been seized for a long time. And then when you look at the motor, it kind of tells the story, because the intake on the motor, the primary side is really clean inside, and the secondary side is just black, where this has just been stuck, probably dumping fuel. That big V8 was probably running like a 4-cylinder, just bogging. This thing was leaking gas from everywhere, and the inside of it's filthy. And on top of that, we've got some linkage issues. The choke linkage is kind of messed up, and the secondaries are just straight lock solid. I can't even get them to move. So I'm going to send this off to a carb shop. Nowadays it's so cheap to have these rebuilt. It's not even, with issues like this, it's not going to be a simple just gasket change like I was planning, which, you know, a gasket kit's $30, but having this rebuilt, I'm sure, is going to cost about $300 ish. But I want to kind of keep this motor original-ish. So this thing's cool. Carter AFB. AFB stood for aluminum 4-barrel carburetor. And it's kind of the precursor to the Rochester Quadrajet, the Edelbrock AVS. I'm not sure the size of this one. I want to say it's a 750. I'm sure it's no smaller than a 650, but I'll have to do some research on it. Well, it says made in USA right on it, and it's likely the original carburetor that came on this car. So I think that's pretty cool. So we're going to have her rebuilt, and I think the next step here is I'm going to go ahead and just pull this intake now that I see the carb so bad that I'm not going to be simply just doing a quick rebuild and throwing it back on. We got some time to kill, so we'll give you some light. So I'm going to pull this intake because it's filthy. You can see what I was talking about. Look at how clean. I got some grit in there. You can see the intake, the primary side versus the secondary side. And all the running problems this engine have are pretty much that carburetor. So I'm going to take this manifold off and just let it sit in the parts washer a couple of days. Well, it's chock full with WD-40, which if we tried to start it with WD-40, it'd be a bad day. So I'm going to go ahead and just drain it. Yeah. Shibbity-doo bop. Shibbity-dibbity-doo. Shibbity-dibbity-dibbity-dibbity-dibbity-dibbity-doo. Shibbity-doo. You guys hear that rooster crowing? He never ever shuts up. Just all the time. Oh, you're gonna come. Gotta move that kick down thing under there. What a cool engine, though. Look at that thing. That is just a cool engine. If one of you guys out there is a Buick expert, let me know. Is this green color on this motor original? I mean, it looks old. Look at that. It's just a cool motor. I mean, the heads are straight vertical. Vertical on the valve train, vertical on the intake ports. It's almost got like an LS style valley pan in it. But man, these gaskets are in decent shape. I'm gonna clean all this Mouse Mansion stuff out of here. Well, yeah, this green is pretty cool on this motor. Good practice to get all that garbage out of there. It's already cleaned up quite a bit just from vacuuming. Such a cool engine, man. You might be asking yourself why I'm about to jack a car up with 2 lifts in this shop. Well, it's because I'm an idiot. I don't want to move all this garbage in here. We can get her running right where she sits. Shibbity-doo-bop. Told you this, but I really don't like spiders, and I'm looking at a lot of spiders. Let's just hope the bug guy exterminated them all. Just so rusted. Oh, I'm gonna zap that with some penetrant and hopefully take it out. Yeah. All right, let's take this nastiness out together. Shibbity-doo-doo-doo! I talk to myself because I don't have any friends. Well, it sure as hell smells like WD-40 down here. Here we go now. Oh yeah, look at how much, that is not oil. It's not even close to being oil. Could be WD-40, could be Kroll. But it has the consistency of water. 0 viscosity. But that might just have preserved this engine. It might be beautiful inside. I mean, it turns over real easy, so that's a good sign. You know, they claim it ran, which is a good enough reason for me to spend money. I've spent money on a lot stupider things. And I did have the foresight to get a new drain plug and washer, because this one looks to have become one with the pan. So I'm probably going to have to get some a Scotch-Brite pad under here and just clean this pan up where the drain plug's going to actually bolt. But there's no metal on here, just a little bit. No big chunks or anything. Yeah, that's this block was literally filled to the gills. I mean, it's still coming. I think this is a 15-quart pan. Starting to feel really full. But I tell you what, I'd rather have somebody do this than store it empty. Oh. That does not taste good. I can't hold my head up very long, folks. Well, we're just going to let that drain out for like 3 hours, and then we'll come back. Okay? Ugh. Here's some more of that rust I was telling you about. Maybe a mouse made himself a little home in there. Oh, that's a lot of car laying on the floor. Well, the filter said Baldwin B9. Baldwin B9 filters. I think it's like a vitamin or something. They're red. Never heard of them. Never seen one before. And to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever seen a motor filled to the valves with WD-40 before, but I don't know. Maybe a good thing. So I'm going to let this drain for a little while. And then I got some the cheapest diesel oil I had at Walmart. Dello 1540. It's pretty common for classic car guys to use diesel oil. It's got all that extra stuff in it. It's tacky. These motors need high zinc content. So good old-fashioned dyno oil is the way to go. Well, as you can see, a little Martha Stewart pre-tax fraud, of course. Clean living is it goes a long way. And I just got rid of a whole bunch of garbage that was in here. Rotten coolant hoses. And threw a little acetone on a rag, and without really disturbing too much, she's cleaned up pretty good. I kind of dig the patina look on this thing. I'm not trying to do a beautiful makeover. I just want to clean it up and make sure it's got clean gasket services and everything when I go to put it back together. But and that is just a cool engine, ain't it? Cool engine.